Peace. My name is William Blackwell. I'm a Sifu at Virginia Beach Wing Chun. What you just saw is a demonstration of a basic technique that we use to answer a hook or an uppercut. The technique is called Gan Sao Punch and Gan Sao Punch, or Tanda and Ganda. I'm going to break down those techniques in 4 basic steps, and I'm explaining the ideas behind it. Because if you understand the idea and the concept that we're using, then it's easier to be able to replicate the action. Because everything has to make sense and it has to be a purpose. So the first step is that we want to cover our head. Because if somebody's throwing a hook at us, you want to raise your hand up high enough to be able to cover it wherever it may land. So when you get in your fighting stance, you bring your hand up, and I'm covering the middle of my body, and I'm also putting my hand above my head. Because again, I don't know how low it's going to come. So after I bring my hand up, then I'm going to pull my arm down. When I pull my arm down, it's me pulling with my elbow. And I'm going to show a demonstration right quick to see exactly what that means. It's like if somebody's going to punch you and you have a stick in your hand, and when the punch comes, you just swat the punch out of the air. So you want to hit down at an angle, okay? So the same way I swing that stick, I'm going to use my arm because I'm not blocking the punch, I'm striking the punch. And I'm striking the person in their wrist. So I'm going to bring my arm up, and I'm pulling down with my elbow, extending my arm, and my fingertips going to be about nose level. All right. The third thing you want to do, and the second and third is going to be together. You bring the hand up, the cover again, then you pull the elbow down while you're turning your horse, and you're going to turn it at a 45-degree angle. Now notice that when I turn my horse, I did not move my hand out the center of my body. The same way I demonstrated, and I pull my hand right in the middle of my body. When I turn, I'm going to do the same thing because the punch is going to come at that sharp angle. So if I open my hand up too much, then the punch is going to come right in the middle. And the fourth piece is that I'm going to bring my hand up, the cover, pulling my arm down, turn the horse, and release the punch from behind. So the ideas behind that is that number one, obviously I want to cover myself. Number two, I want to pull down using my elbow power, and also I'm going to add my turn. So when I use my turn, if I have someone pushing on my arm, the thing that's holding it in place is my hips, because I got my horse behind my arms. So it's multiple powers that I'm using. So I'm pulling down off of an angle, as well as using my whole body to turn with. So I'm multiplying those forces using my hips as well as my arms. And then I punch. So when I turn my horse and I punch, I'm also extending my body that way. So when the attack comes at me, I'm going to knock the punch off course and hit the person at the same time. And that's what we mean by simultaneous attack and defend. And this is one of the first techniques that you learn. Complementary to the Gan Sao Punch is the Gan Sao Punch. Gan Sao Punch is for the uppercut, anything coming from the lower extremities. So basically I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cover my center again, and when I turn, I'm going to lower my arm down, keeping my wrist on the center. So I'm going to raise my hand up to cover, turn, extend my arm, and punch. And my arm is going to be at a 45-degree angle down, because if I'm too close, the person's already hit me by the time that I make contact, and if I'm too far open, then I'm too wide. So I'm going to cover, turn, extend my arm, and punch for the Ganda. So to put them together, they look like this right here. I do Gan Sao Punch, and I do my Gan Sao Punch. So I'm going to show you the full body view so you can see my feet as well as my hands. And at any point in the time, at any point during your practice, you can break everything down and do it one piece at a time. So if you're having trouble trying to figure out how the arm works, you can do it by itself. So you can just raise your hand up and pull it down. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to raise my hand up and I pull down my arm. So practice that by itself. When you get the feeling of being able to raise your arm up and bring it down, then you go back to adding a turn. Or you can just turn your horse by itself. So that's the way Wing Chun works. Everything comes from either an idea or concept or structure in the form, or some of our drills and techniques. And you should always be able to, like math, break it down to a lower common denominator, work on that problem, and then put it back together as a whole and let it operate as a technique. So let's go over the full body view so you can see how it goes. When you still learn how to turn your horse, you can put your sticks down so you can see how far to turn right or to turn left. So I'm gonna demonstrate one more time. For Gan Sao Punch, you raise your hand up, you pull your elbow down, turn your horse, extended punch, come back neutral. Raise your hand up to cover, pull down with your elbow, turn your horse, and punch, come back to neutral. For Gan Sao, you cover the center, bring the arm down, turn the horse, and punch. Same thing on the other side. And again, I invite you to break these steps down if you need to, add them together, and as you get better, you add more speed. And as you learn more techniques, then incorporate them into turning your horse. So you would do your Gan Sao Punch, and your Gan Sao Punch, and then any other techniques that you learn, start to incorporate them all together and use them in a good flow. And that will help you with your sparring as well as other drills and techniques that you do. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I appreciate you tuning in. Peace.